Here's something nobody puts on a motivational poster. Staying loyal to one company is quietly one of the most expensive things you can do with your career, and almost no one runs the actual numbers on it. We're taught that loyalty is a virtue. Show up, keep your head down, do good work, and the raises will come. They mostly don't. Your raises chase inflation while your real market value runs ahead of you for years, and that gap compounds quietly in the background of your whole life until it's worth more than a house. I care about this one because I've lived both sides of it. I climbed out of a broke neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, counting every dollar, and then I went and actually studied how money works. Street and school. So in the next few minutes, I'm not handing you a pep talk, I'm handing you the math so you can put a real dollar figure on what loyalty is costing you and know exactly when it's finally worth checking the door.
The most loyal person in this office building is almost certainly the most underpaid. But right now, he's cutting his own anniversary cake. The cake is from the grocery store, the card signed by half the floor. 10 years today, and Jake stands at his desk wrapped in that warm, settled glow of a man who finally made it. He has no idea what it's already costing him. Jake's the guy who stayed. While his friends hopped companies chasing bigger titles, he kept his head down and did the work. 10 years. One badge. One parking spot. He wears that loyalty like a medal, not once stopping to ask what it actually bought him. Then comes the email he's been waiting for, a merit raise, about $3,000 more a year. He reads it twice, grinning. Proof, he thinks, that staying pays off. The company noticed. The company takes care of its own. This is the whole plan, the only plan he ever needed. Be valuable. Be reliable. Don't make noise. Sooner or later, the people upstairs reward the ones who never threaten to leave. That's how it's supposed to work, right? In all those years, watch what Jake never did. He didn't look. He skipped the job boards and let the recruiter calls go straight to voicemail. 16 recruiters called that year. He listened to 0 of them. He never even checked what a rival company downtown would offer for the exact same work. Why bother? In his mind, he wasn't going anywhere. Loyalty feels like a strategy. It feels safe. But feeling safe and being safe are not the same thing. And the gap between what loyalty promises and what it pays has a real number attached to it. Jake just never asked what it was. Somewhere out there, the market has a number for Jake's job. It moves every year without asking his permission. His raises chase last year's inflation. The market prices next year's talent. 2 different races, and only one of them is even his. Jake's friend Dee isn't trying to start anything. She's just killing time between meetings, half paying attention when a listing stops her cold. It's the same title Jake has, the identical work, in this very city. According to pay data firms like ADP and PayScale, people who stay at one company more than 5 years tend to earn 10 to 20% less than job switchers doing the same work, and they've measured it for years. Jake is exactly that employee. And the listing on Dee's screen proves it. A competitor 2 miles away hiring his exact role, starting at about $120,000 a year. Jake makes about $92,000. Dee shows him that night. Jake barely looks up. Postings always lie, he says. They throw out a big number for clicks. Nobody actually makes that. He smiles, sure of it. The grass is always greener somewhere else. Look closer at what that posting really means. It isn't bait. It's a mirror. $92,000 against $120,000. He's earning about 24% below the going rate for his own job. He just refuses to read the number. Starting over felt like throwing away 10 years of being the guy everyone trusted, so he closed the laptop and let it go. But the number didn't go anywhere. It just sat there, across town, getting a little bigger with every quarter he let pass. Picture Jake's annual review. Kevin, his manager, slides a sheet across the desk and smiles. A raise, real recognition. And the cruel part? Kevin means it. He genuinely values Jake. That's what makes this so brutal. But Kevin doesn't make the rules. There's a budget, a calendar, and a ceiling. Once a year, he gets a thin slice of payroll to hand out, and a hard limit on how far any one person can move. He's not the villain. He's boxed in too. So, Jake's big raise? It works out to about $3,000 extra a year. Spread across the paychecks, it barely outruns the rising cost of groceries. It feels like progress. Mostly, it's just keeping pace. Notice what the review actually measures. Last year, goals he already hit, projects already shipped. It's a report card for the past. But Jake's real worth isn't set by what he did. It's set by what the market will pay right now. This is the mechanism that traps him. There is no button on Kevin's desk that reads, "Bring Jake up to market." That track doesn't exist inside the building. Jake thought loyalty was the strategy. But the annual raise system, the reviews, the budget caps, the salary bands that cap how far anyone can climb above their original hire rate in a single year, was never designed to close that gap. Now run it forward. Each capped raise stacks on the last, always a step behind the market, and federal wage data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows stayers' raises routinely trail what the market pays for new talent. By year 8, the same role at the firm across the street pays Jake's exact job about $28,000 more. Every single year. Notice who's keeping score on that $28,000 gap. Nobody. Not Kevin, not payroll, not the company. The only person who could ever catch it is the one man who's decided he's already arrived. Worse, that hidden gap doesn't just sit there politely. It compounds, like interest, except every dollar of it is working against him, not for him. So what would a different ending have cost him? Almost nothing, and to see it, meet someone who lived it. Then there's Dee, same field as Jake, making about $85,000 a year. She did the boring thing. At 27, 29, and 31, she tested the market. A couple of applications, a few honest conversations, nothing dramatic, just checking what her work was actually worth. Dee had picked this habit up from a friend, someone who had been running the same check every 2 years since she was 26. Every time Dee checked, the gap was small. A year or two of drift, easy to close. One quick conversation, one competing number, and she's right back at market. Loyalty intact. Worth confirmed. Jake never checked. So when he finally looks, at 35, it isn't one small gap staring back at him. It's nearly a decade of them, stacked. A whole career's worth of quiet shortfalls he let pile up untouched. Add up just the last 5 years of that gap, the bigger years, when the shortfall averaged about $27,000 a year. 5 years at $27,000, about $135,000. Money he already earned and never saw a cent of. Then comes the part that stings. That market drift the Atlanta Fed has tracked for years, roughly 2 percentage points a year between stayers and switchers, works out on Dee's $85,000 salary to only about $3,400 of gap building up in each 2-year window before she resets. She checked 3 times across that decade, so her total exposure, even after closing the gap each time, came to only about $10,000 across the whole 10 years. Jake never looked for 10 years, and his loss, as we just saw, runs into the hundreds of thousands. Same field, same loyalty. One of them just kept checking. It isn't only the paycheck. Every year stuck on the lower base, Jake's retirement match shrank too. A lot of employers match contributions dollar for dollar up to 6% of pay. And 6% of that $28,000 gap is about $1,800 a year in match that never went in and never got the decades to grow. And every one of those underpaid dollars had a second job it never got to do, growing. So you don't just lose the wage, you lose everything that wage could have become. A few weeks later, Dee mentioned she'd been talking to another company on the side. Just curious, she said. Then a real offer landed, in writing. Jake figured that was it. She was gone. She didn't even really want to leave. She walked into Kevin's office to give her notice, half expecting a handshake and a goodbye card. That's not what happened. Jake watched the whole thing through the glass. The same loyal performance Dee had always given, suddenly worth a whole lot more the second she had somewhere else to go. Jake's biggest annual raise had ever been about $3,000, a good year. Dee's 10-minute counteroffer earned her about $20,000 all at once. That one raise doesn't just sit there either. Her $20,000 counter, minus the roughly $3,000 raise a standard annual review would have handed her, the same size raise Jake's best year ever produced, left her about $17,000 ahead. Invest that $17,000 once at a typical 7% return, and over a decade it grows to about $33,000. That's what a single question was worth. So let's add up Jake's whole decade and show the work. He didn't start at zero. At the start of this decade, his pay already trailed the market by about $19,000 a year. The same slow 2 percentage point drift the Atlanta Fed data shows has been separating stayers from switchers for years. From there, it only widened. Past $24,000 by year 5, about $28,000 by year 8, near $29,000 by year 10. Average that across the 10 years and it runs roughly $24,000 a year. $24,000 times 10 years, about $240,000 in raw salary, handed back one paycheck at a time. But salary is only the part you can see. Employers commonly match retirement savings, so every year Jake stayed underpaid. About $1,800 in matched contributions never went in. Grow that $1,800 a year at the roughly 7% stocks have historically returned, and over his past decade that's about $25,000 gone. But stretched across his full career to retirement, that same lost match compounds into about $170,000. Federal Reserve data shows just how steep that compounding gets. Stretch that one decision across the 30 years Jake has left until retirement. That gap doesn't stop at $28,000, and we already saw why it grows. That same 2 percentage point edge switchers hold over stayers, the one the Atlanta Fed has documented month after month. Watch how it plays out for Jake. His gap already climbed about $1,000 a year over his past decade, from $19,000 to $24,000 to the $28,000 he's at now. Keep that same roughly $1,000 a year climb going, and across the next 30 years the gap stretches from $28,000 to about $58,000. Average the start and the end, 28 and 58, and the gap runs about $43,000 a year. $43,000 times 30 years, about $1.3 million in raw pay. Put it together. That 7-figure salary shortfall, plus the roughly $170,000 his retirement match never grew. Call it his loyalty tax. What comfort cost him for staying put? Across those 3 decades, it comes to nearly $1.5 million. All of it paid for, never once running a market check. And the gut punch? Jake never did anything wrong. He didn't gamble, didn't overspend, never missed a single payment. He did the exact thing they told him was smart. Stay, be loyal, keep your head down, and it quietly cost him a house. Now meet Rosa. She's in Jake's field, at a company just like his, carrying that same steady loyalty. But Rosa has never lost a single year of pay to it, not because she's disloyal, because she does one thing Jake never did. Every 24 months, Rosa applies to 2 or 3 roles she's honestly curious about. She takes the interviews, she goes all the way to the offer. And then, most of the time, she smiles, says no, and stays right where she is. See, Rosa isn't shopping for an exit, she's pulling data. One afternoon of interviews tells her exactly what her skills cost on the open market, the one number her own company will never, ever volunteer on its own. She always comes back with one of 2 things: a real outside offer she slides across her manager's desk, or hard proof she's already paid fairly. She did not break eye contact. She did not set down her coffee. Either way, she walks in knowing. Jake walked in hoping. This isn't job hopping. It's career hygiene, like checking your credit score or your blood pressure. And it taught Jake the rule he learned too late: loyalty without a number, without proof of what you'd be paid somewhere else, isn't loyalty at all. It's charity. So why does her number stay so small? Jake's gap ballooned to 20-some thousand a year because he let it compound untouched. Rosa never gives it the chance. Walk the math step by step. Say Rosa is at a mid-career salary of about $100,000. Remember that switcher premium from earlier, 10 to 20% above what stayers earn for the same work. Take a conservative 12% of $100,000, the low end of that range, and that's about $12,000 of fresh underpayment that builds up before she resets, and she catches it before it can snowball. Now do that across a 30-year career. That's 15 resets, and 15 times $12,000 is about $180,000 in salary she keeps and Jake loses. Spread that evenly, and it's about $6,000 a year. Invest that $6,000 every year at about 7%. What stocks have returned over the long run? And over 30 years, it grows to about $570,000. Run your own number through any compound interest calculator. Your own salary, 10 to 20%, 30 years, 7%. Real quick, this one's personal. I was the loyal guy. 8 years, never looked, sure they'd take care of me. Then a recruiter cold called me on a Tuesday. I took the chat just to be polite, and the number she said out loud was 30% over my salary. I nearly dropped the phone. I wasn't underpaid because I was bad at my job. I lost that money because I was the only one in the building not keeping score. Don't be me. Keep score. Jake finally gets it. Loyalty was never the strategy. Knowing his worth is. You don't have to quit anything. Just open your calendar and set one repeating reminder 24 months out that says, run the check. You just have to stop being the last one to find out what you're actually worth. So, when's your next check? Loyalty isn't the strategy. Knowing your worth is. Staying silent costs you a fortune over a career. Check your market value every 24 months. Take a few interviews. It's just pulling data. Use real offers to ask for the raise you've earned. Those are your takeaways. I'm Stan, a real person behind this channel, and it genuinely matters to me that this helps you. If you learned something today, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And drop your story in the comments. We all make mistakes, we all learn. I'd love to hear what's worked for you.